Very welcome all people from Filmfest Hamburg once again. In this case, we are with Mr. Radu Jude. UPPERCASE is the film that we have to discuss. It's a
Hello.
it's a privilege to have you here. Now you are in Bucharest, myself in Argentina, Cordoba, all of you in Hamburg. And it's a privilege, Radu, to once again to have your film in our festival, which is a kind of exceptional situation because usually films which has been played in Berlinale, we don't usually play it in Hamburg again, but because the pandemic has changed the whole situation, and mainly because we love your film, the film Hamburg once again, as we used to have the previous film you had, like the last two films you did, both were in, not the last two, the most known film, because I don't care if I go to history as a barbarians. It's a film we played it, and as well as Scattered Heart, which were part of the festival. So, but now we have to talk about this.
Thank you once more for inviting the film, and I'm so I felt so well in Hamburg when I was 2 years ago. It was it's such a lovely memory. Meeting you there, meeting other people from the festival staff, seeing the films in that very nice cinema, and seeing these cities which I read about a lot, including books or memories about the destruction of it during the bombing. So it's a special place, and it remained in my head as a special memory. I hope to be able to go back again at some point.
I thought you meant the Sebald book?
Sebald's book on the natural history of destruction, yes, especially.
That is fantastic. So let's go to your film, which is in a certain way connected, not with Sebald in terms of what the Sebald's book is about, but in terms of what should be done in order to understand the present through the past. And I think your film, UPPERCASE, is a film which is connected with the other works that you have done, Dead Nation, all the films, Afrin, whatever film you take from you, especially from Afrin till now, there is a kind of concern in your cinema which is connected with history, but it's not like you are a revisionist. I think it's a different tactic. I think you are interested in the present through understanding the past. So I will ask, firstly, why you are so interested in go back to the past and come back to the present in certain ways, which the film itself shows that movement, because at the very, very end, we see a kind of circular shot on Bucharest nowadays. So there is an obvious, ostensible connection between that past and this present.
Well, it is complicated for me to answer very precisely to your question, because I think there are many reasons. To summarize, I must say that I'm mainly interested in things which were not in history times or history situation, which were hidden from my generation, at least, which were not talked about, especially the fascist times of Romania, which is still seen by many as a kind of a golden age. The slavery of the gypsies, the racism that existed here, and so on and so forth. So mainly these themes are very important in the present, and all of a sudden, you know, I used to read or to watch a film about racism, I never thought before that it has any relation with Romania. And then all of a sudden you discover that actually Romania, as a country in Europe, even in the periphery of Europe, still shared many of the things together, the bad things and the good things, with many other European countries and European mentalities and so on. But in the case of UPPERCASE print, it is a little bit different, because after the revolution, the anti-communist attitude became like a dogma, like for obvious reasons. I mean, the country was out after a communist dictatorship, and the people didn't want to hear about it anymore. This is why even so-called, let's say, left-wing authors and philosophers took some time in order to be translated and appear into Romania and so on. But what I find really lacking in the discussion regarding the communist past is not only the relation with the present, which many people actually discuss that, is the fact that it's a class element even there. And I did the film, that's one thing. And I did the film because Gianina Cărbunariu made a play based on this case of a young boy from a working class background in a small city in Botoșani, writing graffitis against the communist dictatorship. And this is not a story that was told a lot in Romania until Gianina made the show 7 years ago or something like that. And maybe some small news article. And the question is why? Because the one who had power to express their revolt against Ceausescu, I mean to express it after the revolution, were the intellectuals. Many people spoke about some dissidents of intellectuals or of, I don't know, writers, even politicians, party members, and so on. But almost nobody speak, or very few is spoken about the working class or the workers who were against the regime. And this is one of the cases. It's not you know, a big name, a big intellectual. He didn't become because obviously he died, but even his name didn't become an important name afterwards because it's not somebody at power. These people are forgotten even after their struggle really existed. That's one thing. The other thing is that I wouldn't make all the films I've done regarding the history, and the one I'm doing now, it's about the present times. But I'm not able, because I don't have a particular style myself, unfortunately. I'm not able to. I'm not the kind of filmmaker like, I don't know, let's say Ozu or Frederick Weissman or Hong Sang-soo or whoever you want, a great author who has a distinctive style. So if you see a Tsai Ming-yang film, you recognize it after 5 minutes shot or something like that.
I would disagree with you because I see a film of you and I know that is you. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, okay, but so I consider that I don't have a style. So for each thing, I'm interested to do it only if I find a form, a specific form to express it. Because I believe that if cinema has something to put on the table of the discussion, of the big discussion of things, if it's history, economics, anthropology, whatever it is, science, why not? If cinema brings something, it should bring a different form of expressing the things. And if it's not a form, for me, it's not important. Sometimes I receive, for instance, screenplays of ideas of people saying, what do you think of this situation or of this character, of this story? Wouldn't it make a good film? And they say, yeah, maybe. And why don't you make it, they ask. And I said, I won't make it because I don't have a form for it. So I'm interested in form even more than the topic itself. It's not only the subject. There are a lot of subjects or topics that interest me a lot, and I'm not able to find even a small idea of form to express it, because I'm not pretending to be a revolutionary in filmmaking, but at least to find a channel, to find a form to create that. And in this case, this is, I think, if the films are important, or my films for dealing with these things, is because they can bring a different perspective than the text, the written text, or the classical narrative filmmaking.
In that case, in that sense, from a formal point of view, the film works with two dialectics. It's a kind of dialectics between using the record of the secret police on one hand, where you see the characters talking almost in front of the camera, stiff, with a kind of almost Bressonian style, not as Bresson, but in a kind of like devoid in any sense of naturalism in certain ways, like talking like machines in certain ways. On the other hand, you use a lot of footage. So I was thinking, what was you looking for in working with some kind of propaganda archives from different resources on one hand, and on the other hand to put it in a kind of TV set with the people in such a fashion, talking in that particular way. What was the search in order to produce between some kind of from archives which were alive in certain ways, like natural, and on the other hand, the anti-naturalism of the set and the expression of the characters.
Yeah. Well, I think I can say two things here. First of all, that the film is placed in a tradition of filmmaking and of, I don't know, epistemology, let's say, which uses the montage as the principal device, and is something which, of course, all films have editing. All films are edited, yeah. But the idea of montage, starting with the ideas of Eisenstein and of Walter Benjamin, and then going on with the ideas of André Malraux from his theory books on art, and the ideas of, I don't know, John Dos Passos or James Joyce in Ulysses, or then, I don't know, Godard and Dusan Makaveyev and other masters, Sebald, who's also a master of montage, most of all. I think it's this line is a little bit, well, not forgotten, but not very much used. It is a little bit on the margin, on the side. And the main thing in cinema is narration, documentary or fiction, I mean, grosso modo speaking, and discourse and something like that. And montage is a little bit considered, I don't know, outdated or out of fashion somehow. And for me, montage is really, really important, not only as a filmmaker, but as a epistemological tool in itself. Of course, a very, very, very difficult and cheating, which can be a cheating tool. And we are living in the age of montage for sure, in the worst possible manners. I mean, if you are zapping on TV, that's montage you're doing. If you're scrolling on a Facebook or on Instagram, you just see unconnected images connected by the software itself. So this is also montage, but people don't. I think people. I try to pay more attention to these clashes of different images coming together, and what is how should I say, what is at stake there from an epistemological point of view, or sometimes only from a poetical point of view, or sometimes just from an anecdotal point of view. Most of the memes on the internet, of these internet jokes, is using this kind of montage techniques. And so this is one thing, the idea of using montage as a device for the story, and to treat history as a montage. And of course, it's not my idea. It's an old Walter Benjamin idea, already a classic idea, I would say. Although real historians are not using. I think the only one I know who's using it for sure is an Italian great historian, Carlo Ginzburg. Yes. That's one thing. The other thing is, maybe it's something I try to shy away from, but I cannot. It's like a demon in me, even as a viewer. I like more and more films or literature, but mostly films, which do not look like films, do not look like cinema. And I like films which are not composed out of elements that traditionally belong to cinema. I like more and more to make films which incorporate elements which traditionally don't belong to cinema. When I was applying to the film school, for instance, which I never got in the National Film School, I was never accepted.
But nowadays you teach there.
In another school,
In another
actually.
school. Okay.
I don't teach there, but I was, doesn't matter. But I remember one of the most despising things I was told by a teacher who kicked me out was you had to write some text at some point, a kind of a screenplay on the spot. And I wrote something with dialogues, and she stopped me and said, "What the fuck is this? This is film theater. This is not cinema. So please get out." And then, you know, you discover this, that the one of the worst things that you can say to a filmmaker in Romania, or I know it's like you're not doing cinema, you're doing theater, or you're doing whatever it is. But theater is the most, you know.
It's the worst.
But I love theater, yeah, the worst. And I'm also staged a bit of theater, and I want to do more. I hope to do more, and I consider that it can belong to cinema. Like I made photo films. I mean, I made films with photographs, and people, of course, are telling me, but this is not film, this is found photographs. And I say, yeah, but photographs can belong to cinema. So my idea here was to take this theater play, which even Janina had the same working method, because she made the play using only texts from a Securitate file, from a secret police file. So it's not real theater, you know, it's... And to apply it to cinema. And I think, and I'm very, well, not proud of the result, but I you know, when I see a film which starts as a film, introducing a character, a story, and so on, I got so, not really bored, but I feel a little bit tired of that. Mm-hmm. So that's it. But of course, people want that, because many people said about the film, why didn't you make it properly? I mean, showing the kid going out in the street, writing the graffiti, the secret police comes, take him to a cell, then. So that's, and maybe the third thing is that doing the film, a historical film, in such a manner, I really think now, after I had to deal with these problems for more films, that it's really something that I would never do, to try to reconstruct a history, a historical character, a historical, I mean, to try to reconstruct it realistically.
Yeah.
It's not, it's something completely useless, I think. And not only useless, but you know, that the power of cinema is the power to create the illusion of reality. This is the biggest power that the cinema has. It makes you feel like, I mean, if you see Blade Runner, it makes you feel like you're living in that world. And I think this is a dangerous power. And I want to resist this power of creating the illusion of reality, especially historical reality. And this is why I want to resist that, and to make the viewer resist. But of course, some people say, no, I want to get lost in a film and to feel that I'm there in 1980s or in ancient Rome, or whenever it is, and I think this is not something I would. The lie is so big into that. I mean, the manipulation somehow is so big that I would say, why do you need that? Mm-hmm. And from this point of view, I think theater, it's a little bit more simple and more, how should I say, more. Not only simple, playful, and more obvious, because you see in theater, you see the convention, you know, you see the lights, you see the set. It's no problem with that. We can make a theater play here and say we are in Denmark in Prince Hamlet's time, and nobody say no, but it doesn't look like Denmark.
I will shift a little bit, and we don't have a lot of time because it should be short in certain ways, but we have a couple of minutes more. There is something which is extremely interesting in the film, which is how do you work towards two point of perspective about the politics from those time and this time. which is the following. There are a lot of things which makes you understand what was the imaginary landscape, the imaginary political stance, which you work through generalities and general hits, general ideas of what does it mean to be Romanian in that particular way and particular time. But on the other hand, the counteracting of that idea of the general point of view, you work for specific things, especially the upper print case of this teenager doing this, what he has done is almost a tiny thing among the whole discourse. So I would like to understand this process of working with the general and the singularity, because it seems to be that your case is to, through the singularity case, to put something in context and to build up the criticism through that.
Yeah, well, yes, it's true that it was more an intuition than programmatical, but the idea was in my head to put into this montage clash the opposite. So we have a secret police file of a poor teenager from a smaller city in northeast of Romania, unknown, dead after a few years that nobody speaks about. So it's like a forgotten piece of history. It's like a forgotten case, a forgotten. I even put, I think, a quote from Michel Foucault at the beginning, when Michel Foucault speaks about the emotion he feels when he discovers in an archive a depiction of somebody's life thrown to ashes by the powers of the time, and what remains is just a few documents. So and then I said, what should I place in opposition from the same time we did in order to construct a broader view? And actually the beginning, for instance, when I proposed the screenplay, because after that me and Janina took again the Securitate file and tried to transform it in a conventional screenplay in order to get funded, but we, even in that script, we put the idea of montage, of this clash montage in it. And I said, what we put against that? And we said, okay, documentaries from the studio of documentary, scenes from fiction films, scenes from photographs from newspapers, radio clips. This was the idea. And then I started a research with materials from national television. And while seeing more and more and more, I said that I discovered that I don't use the other materials. First of all, because not only any art, but any reflection about a historical time or event means to limit the materials. You cannot put everything that remained. And I think I found this, I think it was Brodel who said that there are two difficult things for a historian if he has too little materials in order to reconstruct something. But the other problem is that if he has too many materials.
Yeah.
So in this case, we were in a second situation, having too many materials. So we had to cut it down in order to have an idea, to create an image. And then I thought that finally regarding the production of images, the national television was the most official channel. The fiction films, someone could be a rebel like Mircea Daneliuc, for instance, someone could be between the lines. So it wasn't so official as the television images. So I said the television images, it's exactly at the opposite spectrum of the story of the kid. So this should be the only clash.
And just to be closing, and why you have decided, something that I said at the very beginning, to add that particular shot, which is circular, around a special place in Romania, which is a big square where there is a new cathedral. There is a kind of rebuilding an old church from the Orthodox times. Why you have? Because it's not an innocent. Yeah, it's not an innocent shot, and it's the closing shot.
No, it's interesting because in the screenplay that we proposed, we said that okay, the historical part ends, and then we have the present time where the Securitate, the secret police officers, are explaining that what they did was an innocent and even a patriotic thing, which is also a text taken from interviews that Janina and the two historians that helped her did. So it's their words exactly. And then I said, okay, so I would do the same. I would make a clash with images from national television nowadays. This was the idea at the beginning. But then I said, but this is a little bit stupid because from the 80s, I took the archive images because I cannot go back to the 80s and film in the 80s, of course, but I'm in the present, so I can film in the present. So I can create the images or pick the images which would be which I would want to show to the audience, to show the essence of nowadays, because that part of the 1981 is the essence of 1981 as I see it through the lens of these archive materials. But now I can create my own lens in order to see with the camera. And then I said that I also wanted to limit, because even in the production phase, we were prepared to go, I don't know, for 1 week and shoot in a lot of places in the country and in Bucharest in order to create this archive of the present to show. And then I limited more, and I said, no, I would do it just around the house of people with what happens around that, and that would be enough. And when I went there, I discovered that I can use only one shot to reflect somehow the essence of how the things are now mixed for good or for bad. It's not only bad, because you can see the beginning of the shot. It's the new capitalistic Romania, is the Marriott Hotel and the Louis Vuitton shop. And then the camera pans and you see the horrible traffic of Bucharest. And then you see some buildings which are communist type buildings in an area which was destroyed before. And then you move and you see the new Orthodox cathedral, which is called the Cathedral for the Salvation of the People, which is a monstrosity, and it shows what we are living now, the power of the church and of the fascist past somehow expressing through the church also. And then in the end you have the house of people, which is the remaining of the dictatorship of Ceausescu, but also where the political power is nowadays. So in one shot, of course, that for a foreign audience is not obvious, not even for a Romanian one, but for me it still exists. In one shot you can see all the important things of nowadays Romania, I think. So this is why I limited to this one shot.
Okay, Mr. Radu, Jude, you have been so kind to give us this time in a morning in Bucharest, and we are so proud. We are so proud to have you once again in Filmgespräch Hamburg, and I will hope to be able to present more films and to talk to you once again. On behalf
Thank
of
you so much, and
thank you.
Hope to see you and to enjoy the festival. The people who are in Hamburg.
Thank you for all of you to have been listened to us. Bye bye.